Hagashem Mashiach Haruach Morid Hagashem for our sake, don't hold back the water for our sake, don't hold back the water. 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 Hashim Haruach Umorid Hagashem. So if you look on the screens, we have the exciting text from the Amidah that we're moving to now. Forget summer. Who needs Morid Hatal? I need it a little bit. The vitamin D is over. And now it is time for this. But look at these beautiful words. So let's bring on the water, let it wash over you, and sing with me. Mashiach Haruach Umorid Hagashem. Mashiach Haruach Umorid Hagashem. For our sake, don't hold back the water. For our sake, don't hold back the water. Don't hold back the water. Don't hold back the water. Don't hold the water. Don't hold back the water. Mashiach Haruach Umorid Hagashem. Mashiach Haruach Umorid Hagashem. One more time. For our sake, don't hold back the water. Try that. For our don't hold back the water.
That was beautiful. I have not heard that one, Cantor.
Thank you. Thanks, Cookie.
And this is going to be this ongoing theme of this service of transition, of movement, of, in this case, movement towards the winter and the waters. Because we, this week especially, were in a moment of movement, as we found ourselves at a unique junction in our Jewish calendar and our civic life. Just a few days ago, we were here celebrating Simchat Torah. We unrolled the whole Torah. We had a tour of the Torah. And then we spent a long time in Betty Port Hall dancing with our Torahs as we went from completing the book of Deuteronomy. And this week, we restart Genesis with Bereshit once again. We're reminded of the endless potential for renewal, for creation that exists within each of us. Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz, v'haaretz hayta tohu v'vohu. The very beginning of our Torah reads, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth was unformed and void." These opening words of Torah remind us of the divine spark of creativity that resides in each of us, and that we're able to move something from tohu vavohu, unformed and void, and really form it and make it better, make it more holy, make it more spiritual. And especially in this moment as we are standing on the cusp of a significant election, both all the way from the top of our ballot of president to our first elected school board here in Chicago. The stress, the division, the polarization can be overwhelming sometimes. Our tradition teaches us that from chaos comes opportunity. We're called to be creators with God and really be partners with God to use our voices and our actions to shape the world which we see. And so we do just that. We see things that are tohu vavohu, unformed and void, and need a little bit of help around the edges. And we make our voices heard. We celebrate when we make big changes. We celebrate when we have big moments, because each one of us is continually on that process of forming, of making sure that we are working towards becoming our best selves. And with that, we get to celebrate a big milestone in the Toback Rosenblum family, as in honor of Aliyah's Aliyah to Torah tomorrow. In honor of Aliyah's Bat Mitzvah tomorrow, we get to invite up the whole Rosenblum and Toback family and the Strauss and Hay family. Just the Toback Rosenblum family. So come on up as we invite Kerry Rosenblum, Jonathan Toback, Asher Toback, Tanner Toback, and Aliyah to join us for our candle blessings. And we're going to join them on page 120 for our blessing over the Shabbat candles.
Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher shanu mitzvotav, tzivanu, lahadlik nei,
As the rest of the Rosenblum Toback family has their seats, Aliyah, we're going to join with you on page 123, and we're going to rise in all ways that we are able for Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei puri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho be'ava uvratzon hinhilanu. Zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh, zecher letziat Mitzrayim, ki vanu v'hata ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim. B'Shabbat kodshecha behava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat.
We're so excited to celebrate you tomorrow. And I'll invite us all
That's
to
a
be
good spot. That's a good
seated.
spot. I like that. I like that idea. Go do that. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Leah.
So if Robert and Sherwin, if you would come to the bima, we have the distinct honor of blessing you just ahead of your wedding this Sunday. And I want to pick up on this piece that Rabbi Gelman started our service with, to say that this is a week where we're starting something new. Certainly this week you're starting something new. And also there's this way in which we hear in our Torah when it was that everything was just starting to begin. And there was a lot of void and chaos and darkness. There's this beautiful line that said that God's Spirit was just hovering over everything. It said, Merachefet Ruach Elohim. God's Spirit was just hovering over. And so what Rashi wanted to see is what exactly, why did they use that term? What did that mean? And he said that God was like a dove that was just hovering over its nest and looking at what was beautiful inside that home. And I want to say this to the two of you. I think you are like doves that are so careful to be able to hover in just the most beautiful way over the home of your love that you create together. You're so gentle in your love with one another, and you know how to protect it and keep it safe. There's something about the two of you who knows how precious life is and how it is that all you need to do, oh, you're right, Sherwin, as you were looking to Robert, like, shouldn't we be holding each other in this moment? Yes, you should, however feels comfortable. Look, you guys are so loved that somebody's hair is just... Here's what I want to say. You have this great love, and you have this beautiful home in each other that is like a precious nest that has hatchlings of the future, of just being able to see joy, to see resilience, to be able to wake up each day refreshed because you're with your beloved. You know how good that is. So you not only hover above it and protect it, you nestle in with it. I hope that always, always you are precious and loving to one another. I hope you will always protect your great love. And I hope you'll always treat it as this blessing from God, because that's what it is. And so it is an honor now to wrap you in this talit that Robert has worn once or twice before on special occasions. But I have to say, as special as those occasions were, nothing more precious than this one. So if you would, you can face this way just a bit. We'll invite...
I got move perfectly together.
Here. And great. And we'll invite the congregation, if you would, to just lift your hands in blessings as well as we bless this beautiful couple.
May God bless you and keep you.
May you feel God's light shine down upon you. May God be gracious to you.
May you always feel lifted by a divine presence. May you always recognize that presence in your love together, and may that bring you peace. And to that we say, Amen.
We're going to put
do see that there are some children who are here. If you're under the age of 28, please come and gather some candy. That is the way that we're going to sweeten the beginning of this service.
I was going to say under 50. under 100. If you want to come up, feel free. We've welcomed in the sweetness of Shabbat, and we've helped clean up the sweetness of Shabbat. And we are going to turn to page 138. Oh, but this is my dinner. No. We're going to turn to page 138, where we find the words of Lecha Dodi. We're going to do verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. On that 9th verse, rising and facing the entrance as we welcome in the Sabbath bride. But not yet, on the 9th verse.
Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Lecha Bela, Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Lecha Bela, Shamor v'Zamor v'Nibor Echad, Yishmianu El HaMiuchad, Adonai Echad U'Shmo Echad, L'Shemu Tiferet V'Liti La, Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Lecha Bela, Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Lecha Bela, Likrat Shabbat, Lechu B'necha, Ki Himokor HaMeracha, Leirosh Mikeden Nesucha, Sof Ma'aseh Nacha Shabbat Yechila, Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Lecha Bela, Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Lecha Bela, Hitoreri, Hitoreri, Ki Va'orei, Uri, 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 Shidaveri, Ki V'od Adonai Alai Echila, Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Lecha Bela, Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Lecha Bela. Ho'i v'shalom ateret bala, Gam b'simcha u'tzola, Toch amunei ansegula, Bo'i chala, Bo'i chala, Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Lecha Bela, Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat, Lecha Bela.
We'll remain standing as we turn to page 144.
יתקדם ויתקדש שמי רבה,
Amen.
ועלמד יברח חירותי וימליך מלכותי, לך יכון וביום יכון, ובחיי לכל בית ישראל, בעגלה בעגלה, ובזמן קריב ואמרו,
Amen.
ישמר רבה מבורך לעולם עולם העמיה,
Yitbarach.
יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה, שמי קודשה.
B'richu.
לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בימיו אמרו,
Amen. As we turn the page.
La 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 Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed Le'olam 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 Le'olam
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim b'chochma poteach she'arim uvitvuna mishaneh itim umachalif et hazmanim umesader et hakochavim b'mishmerotehem barakira kirtzono borei yom v'layla golel or mipnei choshech v'choshech mipnei or Umavir yom umevi laila, umavdil ben yom umevi laila. Adonai tzavaot shemo, El chai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. 152.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad
You may be seated.
V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha
בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך
ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בעם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
On that theme of continuing to form, on the top of page 157, let's pray together in the English. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together.
No ראו עיניך בוקע יד לפני משה ומרים זה אלי אנו ואמרו אדוני אם לא לעולם
Of course, we know that building and rebuilding and continuing to form is not a linear path, but we have moments where we catch ourselves in moments of darkness. And we ask God to, especially in those moments of vulnerability, of darkness, when we're not moving as quickly forward as we would hope, we ask God to watch over us, to lie us down in peace, to raise us up to life renewed. As we pray those words on page 160.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim lechaim ufroz aleinu sukkot shlomecha ufroz aleinu sukkot Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
So I'm doing something unusual tonight, and I'm actually giving the sermon before the Amidah, or before our central prayer, before our tefillah. And that's because we've got a big change coming in the Amidah this evening. We change from that little prayer for dew that we do in the summer months to this blessing or this prayer for rain that we do in the late fall and winter months. And so I thought tonight I would actually teach a little bit about that Tefillat Geshem, that prayer for rain, that's actually a longer piyut or a longer prayer poem. And the cantor's actually going to chant some of that this evening, so you have a little bit more familiarity with it, so that by the time we're actually starting to pray it in our Amidah, you'll actually know a little bit more and be able to feel its depth a little bit greater. So I'll just say that this evening, the reason why I especially wanted to talk about Tefillat Geshem, this prayer for rain, is because I did my rabbinic thesis, 20 years ago, on Tefillat Tal, on the prayer for dew. And I loved the prayer for dew. It's this really light and lovely poem, prayer poem. And it really is it's this acrostic. So, and it's the opposite way. So it's an acrostic that starts with a tav, goes through shin, it goes all the way through. And each stanza just adds this depth about what it is, about how we could pray for the future with hope in our hearts and look toward these summer months with some kind of reverence. I loved it so much, and really its words almost roll off the tongue and it lightens the heart really like morning dew. I'll just give you a little flavor of it. So it starts, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu taltein lirtzot artzach, chitenu bracha b'ditzach, rov dagan tir osh b'chafritzach, komem ir ba chavtzach, Batal. So with dew, give us, we're asking God, give us satisfaction in your land. Let us drink in blessings of joy. May abundant grain and wine burst forth and sustain your city with your desire through dew. So the whole piyut, this whole prayer poem, its mysterious history, its variations in different Jewish communities, well, I found it all so fascinating and really even nourishing. And that maybe was because I wrote most of my thesis in a beautiful New York City tea shop in Gramercy Park, sipping a Japanese tea whose name means precious dew. It was just perfect. And for several months, multiple times a week, I would schlep a backpack filled with prayer books, a journal and pen, and my laptop, and I diligently translated and analyzed this entire piyut, this prayer poem, for the prayer for dew. And then my thesis advisor suggested that I dedicate one of the chapters to a comparison between Tefillat Tal, the prayer for dew, and Tefillat Geshem, the prayer for rain, that we're going to switch to this evening. And I thought, well, that will be fun. I was wrong. To be honest, in my several first readings of Tefillat Geshem, the prayer for rain, I didn't like it very much at all. It's got this very heavy tone. It seems almost desperate. It's so anxiety-ridden. It just seems like it just keeps repeating this refrain, for the sake of our ancestors, don't withhold water. It just seems like it's so fear-based. And it concludes, remember the 12 tribes you caused to cross through the split waters, for whom you sweetened the water's bitter taste, their offspring, whose blood was spilt for you like water, turn to us, for woes engulf our souls like water. For the sake of their righteousness, grant abundant water. So the tone made me bristle, but I couldn't help but still marvel at its brilliance. It too was an acrostic, and this time it starts with Aleph and it goes all the way down through Tav. And the poet meticulously remembers the lives of our ancestors and laboriously relates their lives to water. And with each verse, the poet closes by asking God to bring the precious gift of water through God's rain. And the desperation in this poem addressed to God, I think, really spoke for and to the people, because rain symbolized divine blessings, and if the rains wouldn't come in this season, there would be no spring harvest and they would be cursed. So these several months, the beginning of the fall and winter seasons, the rainy seasons, this was a time of great anxiety and uncertainty. And the rains would determine not only their livelihoods come spring, but truly their lives. So this poem and the rituals around it gave their worries voice. And it was even like it gave them a cathartic release. And I'll say this because some of you might know this tradition, that the day before the Jews switched to this prayer for rain, many Jewish communities go to the synagogue and parade around the sanctuary with their lulav and etrog, and then they conclude by beating just the willow branches on the floor of the synagogue. They beat them, beat them, beat them in order to show the way in which we are like trees. We are like those willows who need to be watered, and that we need to be watered with rain. We beg God through these rituals, bring us rain. And even though we are so concerned with future rains, it seems like this prayer is obsessed with the past. The refrain over and over again says, Zachor, remember. Remember the lives of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, Moses and Aaron and the 12 tribes. We've since added the imahot, the matriarchs as well. But this ancient piyut, it goes through and talks about how their lives were connected to water. They were drawn like like water to God. And therefore, God, bless us with the water of your rains, it asks. So as I first learned about the prayer for rain while sipping tea in New York City, this obsession with rain and the graphic imagery of our ancestors' past struggles didn't immediately speak to me. We who live in a more urban environment may not be able to relate to all of this dependence on the land and the rains. But sitting here in this sanctuary tonight, or in our homes tonight, with just weeks to go until the election, and the ongoing and expanding war in Israel and the Middle East, well, that anxiety about the future that is so pervasive in that prayer for rain, well, we can truly relate. And as today falls just one day after the Hebrew date of October 7th, we can also relate to that notion of Zachor, the need not only to remember, but the need to memorialize. As Jews, we are a people who understand the power of memory. In his collection of lectures entitled Zachor, Jewish History and Jewish Memory, Yosef Chaim Yerushalmi analyzes the role of memory in Judaism, and he explains that myth and memory, well, they condition our action in the world. Yerushalmi notes that there is an almost desperate pathos about the biblical concern with memory. We have a shrewd wisdom that knows how short and fickle human memory can be. So he points out that only mythic time can repeat itself. If history is real, then the Red Sea can only be crossed once, and Israel cannot stand twice at Sinai, yet the covenant is to endure forever. So then it requires memory. And we Jews wrest from our memories meaning. That way that something happened once, well, it stands for something in the future. Only memory can do that for us. We memorialize different things that happen in our history because then they bring to us in our days a sense of purpose. Remembering the Exodus from Egypt helps us understand our freedom and our agency. Remembering Sinai reminds us of the ethical responsibility that comes with that freedom and agency. And we memorialize these events to give our lives now meaning and to face the future more confidently. These have become our people's greatest myths, and they help us to act more righteously in our world. So then how are we to memorialize October 7th? Well, we're certainly too close to it to wrest from it any real meaning, though that doesn't stop us from trying. How do we make meaning out of something so horrific in our recent history and something that continues to affect the daily lives of Jews and Arab Muslims and Christians living there and here? And how do we mark October 7th properly when it happened on a holiday whose very name means joy, on Simchat Torah? So thankfully, we Jews whose memories are long have lived through rupture before, and our sages have shared the wisdom they gleaned in those times to help us become more resilient in ours. So tonight, before we hear Tefillat Geshem, before we hear this prayer poem, I'll share with you a story that I've shared once before, but this time from a different source. Maybe tonight it'll have different resonance. So in the years following the destruction of the Second Temple, most of the Jews realized that their lives and their celebrations would forever be altered. And the people had different reactions. One group decided to become ascetics. They would no longer eat meat. They would no longer drink wine. And when Rabbi Joshua, a great and humble sage, heard them speaking, he decided to challenge them. He said, "Why don't you drink wine?" And they responded, "Shall we drink wine when it was given as a libation offering every day on the altar and it's now null and void? We won't drink it." So then he said to them, "Well, then we should not eat bread, for which the 2 loaves were given on Shavuot, and we should not drink water, which was poured as a libation on Sukkot." And then they were silent. No bread, no water, no life. So he said to them, "To overly mourn is not viable, and not to mourn at all is not viable. Rather, this is what the sages prescribed. A person should build their home using limestone, but leave a small area out as a remembrance of Jerusalem. And one should prepare what is needed for a meal, but leave out a little something as a remembrance for the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem. And all who mourn her in this world will experience joy with her in the future, as it is said, 'Rejoice with Jerusalem and be glad for her, all you who love her.'" So from here on out, every October 7th and every Simchat Torah will be tinged with sorrow. How could it not? And in time, we will find the right ways to truly memorialize and understand the ways that it will condition our action. But in the present, we are commanded to continue to be joyful on Simchat Torah and on Shabbat and at a mitzvah, but to Zachor, to remember. And that's why we continue to pray with and for the hostages. And we remember the hardship of our people and all those who are suffering in the wake of those terrible attacks as we sing Achenu on Friday nights and at our festival services. We make a place for our suffering, both so that we honor it and so that it does not take over our lives. We are commanded to remember not only our sorrows, we are commanded to remember how to rejoice. We give voice to our anxiety, but we remember the good that our people have done in this past year and in the ancient past. Remember Abraham, who was drawn after God like water, and Isaac, who poured out his heart in prayer like water, and Sarah, who brought new Jews to conversion through water, and Rebekah, who watered Isaac's camels with water. May we remember the gift of the stories of our people, as it is written, "Just as water gives life to the world, so the words of Torah give life to the world." And to that we say, Amen. So I'll invite you in body and spirit, please rise as we hear some of Tefillat Geshem, our prayer for memory, for resilience, for renewal, for rain. You'll see some of the translations coming up on these screens as the cantor sings our ancient text.
זכור נמשך אחריך כמים, ברכתו כעץ שתול על פגי מים. קנאתו הצלתו מאש וממים דרשתו בזרעו על כל מים. בעבורו אל תמנע מים. זכור יפת מראה שזיוות כטוהר מים. עשתה נפשות על ידי מקוות מים. בזקנה זבו שדיה חלב כמים זרעך ירבו ככל על יד ימים. בעבורה אל תמנע מים.
זכור הנולד בשערות יוקח נעמיים ושקת לאורו לשחתו לשיפוך דמו כמים זיהר גם הוא לשפוך לב כמים עפר ומצא בארות מים בצדקו כחול השראת מים זכור נערה שעלו לקראתה מים ותורד כלה על ידה ונתנה מים גם לגמלים שבה מבמים שכנה לו עלה ענן מלא מים בצדקה חון חשרת מים
Page 164.
שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך
Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagedol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim v'Konei Hakol וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם מכלכל חיים בחסד מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים סומך נופלים ורופא חולים ומתיר אסורים ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומיתו מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה ונאמנת על החיות הכל ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
In Praise of Mystery, a poem for Europa by Ada Limon. Arching under the night sky, inky with black expansiveness, We point to the planets we know. We pin quick wishes on stars. From Earth, we read the sky as if it is an unerring book of the universe, expert and evident. Still, there are mysteries below our sky. The whale song, the songbird singing its call in the bough of a wind-shaken tree. We are creatures of constant awe, curious at beauty, at leaf and blossom, at grief and pleasure, sun and shadow. And it is not darkness that unites us, not the cold distance of space, but the offering of water, each drop of rain, each rivulet, each pulse, each vein. O second moon, we too are made of water, of vast and beckoning seas. We too are made of wonders, of great and ordinary loves, of small invisible worlds, of a need to call out through the dark. We continue in silent prayer.
Shalom Bimroma. Uyase Shalom Aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'al kol yoshvei Teiel. Ve'imru.
That's how I call people up. So I go like this.
I love that.
Thanks.
One of the most outspoken family members of an Israeli hostage is Mayan Snapir, whose grandfather, Oded Lifshitz, is one of the oldest hostages that remains in Gaza at 84 years old. I had the privilege of meeting Mayan a few months ago at a retreat in Wisconsin, and I was blown away by her story and also her ability to, in the face of that story, maintain hope. That's why she had traveled to the United States, she told me, away from her family and local efforts to release the hostages, to spread the message of hope, not only for the hostages and that they will return home safely, but also that they will return to a better world, one imbued with greater kindness, empathy, and love. At an October 7th anniversary event in Los Angeles just a few days ago, Mayan called on the Jewish community to make the difficult choices necessary to create such a world. Will we choose anger, war, hate, and pain, she asked? Or will we choose love, peace, and kindness? Are we brave enough to choose light despite the circumstances? Will we find the courage to stand together and be there for one another, even when there are different opinions? This just might be one of our greatest lessons after such dark times. And yet, there is still hope. Some of you will remember the profound video of a released Israeli hostage shaking the hand of her Hamas captives as she crossed the border back to Israel and saying to them, "Shalom." That was Mayan's grandmother, Israeli peace activist Yocheved Lifshitz, taken into captivity with her husband Oded and released several weeks later. It has been an excruciating year for the Jewish people, for the Palestinian people, for humanity, and for our world. As we move forward into the second year of this war, I ask us to heed Mayan's words and fight to create a world like the one she hopes for. We join in Achenu, our prayer of hope in these dark times.
כל בית ישראל, כל בית ישראל, הנתונים בצרה ובשביה, העומדים בין הים ובין ביבשה. המקום ירחם, ירחם עליהם ויוציאם מצרה לרעה מאפלה לאורה ומשימור לגאולה השתבה גלה ובזמן קריב.
At this time, our hearts turn to those who are in need of refuat haguf, healing of body, refuat hanefesh, healing of spirit. If you are joining us online, I invite you to hold the names of your loved ones, those in need of a refuah shlema, a full and complete healing in your heart. And if you are here with us in our kihila, our sacred community, I invite you, as my hand passes around the room, to bring the name of those you are thinking of into our space so we may pray for their collective healing. We turn to our Misha Berach on page 371. Thank you, Aaliyah. What a gift to be able to celebrate with you tomorrow for your bat mitzvah. If anyone was thinking of not coming, now you know you should. We begin to conclude our service with the words of Aleinu on page 586. I invite you to rise in all the ways you are able.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עצרנו כגויי הרצות, ולא צמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל העולם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו
We have just a few short announcements. Well, I was going to say the most important, but actually there are a few very important ones. Tomorrow's Mindful Jewish Aging. So if you'd like to age like Cookie Marks, you should join us 2 o'clock tomorrow. It's going to be mixed presence both here and from home. You can join us. Spiritual Gifts of Life After 50. Sunday, we're going to have a class that I'm going to be teaching on the death and afterlife in Judaism. And so I'll invite you, that's going to be a 3-part series. You can drop in for any one of the 3 in that series. It'll start this Sunday at 9:30, and that's online only. And then we will have on Monday evening an informational session on Chicago's first elected school board. That will be online only at 7:30 p.m. And then this Wednesday, everyone should join us for a special storytelling experience, This American Jewish Life. We're going to hear from 7 different storytellers for an evening that will be so much fun with mocktails and cocktails and treats, and we're going to be hearing from people from very different ages, different life experiences about really what shaped their own lives politically. It should be so fun, meaningful. I've heard all of the stories so far. They are, some of them hilarious, all of them touching, and really special to hear from our community. And finally, next Friday evening, we have Or Chadash, and that service will be later in the evening, but at 6:30, we're going to be able to gather together to have some nosh and schmoozing, which means some snacks and talking with each other. And it should be really nice to be able to do all of us together, everyone who LGBTQ plus community and allies. And then there'll be a beautiful service after that, starting, I believe, at 7:15. Wow, it should be a very, very special evening. Did you have something you wanted to share? So come to that evening of schmoozing and prayer. We'll also have our 6:15 service in here, and beforehand 5:45 for a pre-service reception. Okay, so an update for the mindful Jewish aging. Again, if you would like to age wisely, like Cookie Marks, then what you'll do is tomorrow, you'll meet us in the parking lot at 1 o'clock. You will then be able to drive out together with other people from Mindful Jewish Aging to Andrew Simmons' house, who lives in Lake Forest. So that is going to be a beautiful car ride, and usually with Chicago traffic, even on Shabbat. And you will have to call on that wisdom to not say such the things that you want to say while you're driving in that traffic. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your sibling walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give me. I want to leave you something. Something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved. And if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not in your mind. You can love me best by letting hands touch hands and by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die. People do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away. Our hearts turn to those who have departed this earth just recently. Bob Pinzer, Connie Sue Metters, Sidney Gross, Thomas Matias, Larry Rosen, Gail Nelkin, and Kay Bucksbaum, who died just Wednesday, mother of John Bucksbaum. And our hearts also turn to those whose yahrzeit, the anniversary of whose death resides this week. Harry Allweiss, Eloise Bell, Erwin Blitt, Neva Buck, David Kornbleet, Sally Forgash, Elizabeth Forgash, June Frankel, Carol Sue Gold, Gilbert Greenfield, Stanley Gross, Max Grossfeld, Lotte Hausler, Laurel Krulwich, Saul Levitt, Leo Lichtenberg, Fannie Lowe, Robin Lando, Queenie Lustig, Sherman Morinson, Susan Beverly Matheson, Leonard Oringer, Mary Oppenheim, Don Phillips, Sophie Pinsley, Philip Ribbett, Barbara Rich, Gina Schambeck, Randall Sherman, Rachel Spalansky, Barry Sloan, David Snyder, Ada Stock, Lois Sulzer, Lois Werhane, Nancy Tellman, Michael Weber, Norman Weinstein, Sam Wolf, Larry Allen Wolf. If there are others for whom you are thinking about tonight for a traditional period of mourning, or just someone who is weighing on your heart heavy and you're online with us, I invite you to keep your loved ones' names in your heart. And if you are with us here in this community, I invite you to say the name of your loved one as my hand passes around the room. Zichronam Livracha, may their memories forever be a blessing to us all. Kaddish Yatom, our mourner's Kaddish, can be found on page 598. I invite you to rise in all the ways you are able.
Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divra chirutei ve'amlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon, v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, v'agala v'zman kari v'imru. Yehi shemei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'la'olmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudusha. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbachata v'nechamata. Ta'miran v'yalma v'imru. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Hoseh shalom bimromav. Hu yaseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru, imru, amen.
Be seated.
Drake, if you happen to have that slide or those words from the very beginning, you know, this is our rain dance, everyone. Get into it. I know that we like to sometimes just sit and stare at the ark, but sing out, Louise. Let's do this. Mashir Haruah Umorid HaGashem. Mashir Haruah Umorid HaGashem. For our sake, don't hold back the water. Say, for our sake, for our sake. Don't hold back the water.
Okay.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
Happy
Shalom,
birthday.
everybody.
Huh?
Shalom.
And Joe
Shabbat shalom,
May,
everybody. Have a good
Shabbat
one.
shalom,
happy
y'all.
birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Shalom, everyone.
Thank
Vote early and
you.
often. Get
Shabbat shalom.
registered.
Shalom.
Brian, I hope you enjoyed the service.
Sing
I
out.
did.
Good. And your friend.
Sing
Hi,
out.
friend.
Honey, you